He said it, but still
it was actually sincere. I mean, or
Oh, it's 6 o'clock. Okay, it's 6 o'clock, and we're going to bring the July 24th, 2023 City Council meeting to order. We'll begin with roll call, please.
Walters.
Here.
DeVore.
Here.
Sarchet.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Item 4, our item 3, approval of agenda. I'll ask for a motion and then a second.
Motion to approve. Second.
And roll call.
Sarchet.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
DeVore.
Item 4 is our public hearing. It's time to close the regular meeting and open the public meeting to review the findings and to make available to the public the contents of an environmental information document, EID, regarding the city's project plan. Jenny, when was the notice published?
June 16th.
Any written comments received for or against the EID?
No, sir.
At this time, we'll request a report, and Gary, I understand you're going to provide that.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. So the event here is typical of all SRF projects. There's a process that they go through related to environmental evaluation of the proposed project, which is what the EID really talks about. Given that it was published and that there weren't there were no comments, I will kind of summarize things here. Certainly I can stay around if folks have questions as well too. But this, the EID, what it does is it basically just evaluates, it just reviews what the project scope is, where it's going to be located, talks about any environmental impacts, of which none were found, which is what is related to finding of no significant impact. And I'll just summarize a few things related to the document here as well. So the proposed project, as folks in here are probably aware, is a new elevated storage tower with a connection to the distribution system. The water distribution system, which includes a 16-inch connection up to the tower, which is proposed. Should show the regional park complex is going to be inside the regional park complex that's there. Off of the existing 118th Avenue, there's a water main connection that will be north. That we're working with the city and another consulting partner on a roadway access. That's part of this as well too. The preferred site for the tower is inside of the regional park complex, with then a final connection of an 8-inch water main connection to the north near the school site. There were 3 alternatives that were evaluated as part of the project, which included 3 different tower sizes. And working with the city and their staff, we selected the 1.5 million gallon tower because it had the lowest life cycle cost when you look over the life cycle of the full asset length. And then finally, a couple of minor things related to the environmental side of things. The environmental evaluation is completed by the Iowa DNR through their SRF program staff themselves. So they complete all the environmental evaluation work and then issue out, after making consultation with also sovereign lands and other cultural related entities, of any significant impacts that they would anticipate, given again the project location, of which there were none identified by any of those entities, in which case they then issue what's called the finding of no significant impact, which is included in the EID statement. And so that's really the point of this evening, is to allow them, the public, to provide any comment that they have to the proposed project, any environmental concerns they may or may not have, which again were none for this evening. And so I guess I would take any questions if there are any. If not, I think proceed on.
Endangered animals, is that in scope with this?
Correct. So they would look at all those things, and also related to that, there's also there's periods of time in which some work can be done. So example, like tree clearing, because we have endangered and threatened bat species, there are certain times of the year in which we would eliminate times where some of those items may be removed because of roosting habitat, etc. So that's also part of the requirements of the construction phase of the project as well. So yes.
And that's exactly why I asked, because that's the only hurdle that not for us, but
there are periods of time which in the state of Iowa, for really any publicly funded project, that they can actually do removal of trees size 3-inch and greater diameter, and that's certainly included in the requirements of the project, and will be exercised upon the contractor as well.
Council questions? Sounds good. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, guys.
So is there anyone present who wishes to be heard for or against the EID? So I then need a motion to close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting.
So moved.
And,
Second.
and roll call?
Henderson,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
DeVore,
Yes.
Sarchet.
So we'll move on to 4A1, which is approving the project description, scope, and anticipated environmental impacts as detailed in the Iowa State Revolving Fund, SFR, Environmental Information Document, EID. Motion and second, please.
So. Second.
And roll call.
Walters,
Yes.
DeVore,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Item 5, public comments. This is the time and place for comments for any item other than those that are a public hearing. Have we had anybody wish to speak?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we will move on to item number 6, which is the consent items. I'll ask for a motion in a second.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
DeVore, Sarchet,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yeah.
Walters.
Yes.
Moving on to item 7, business items. A, first reading of ordinance 2023-9300, amending chapter 57, dangerous and vicious animals. Chief, I understand
Yeah,
to speak.
so this proposal to change the dangerous and vicious animals chapter code to make it fall more in line with a lot of the other metro cities and what they're doing. Some of the pieces out of this would be the addition of a dangerous dog definition. Currently, we only have a vicious dog definition in our code. And then some regulations in order to keep said dog within the city if it's declared that. And that would mean like fencing requirements, structure requirements, completion of a dog behavior modification course, and having insurance on the animal. And there's also a few changes to our appeal process that we had recently passed. We ran into some issues on this, our most recent one, and we're going to include another agency's animal control officer that's
So is that, I guess, just thinking through your summary, because the first part, I thought we already did that, but was it just specific to the appeal process that we changed here?
Yeah, the
year or
last
two?
time we discussed this chapter was over the appeal process itself. We had added in there to have like a local veterinarian or an animal control officer for Polk County that we use. When we ran into that situation, they did not want to be involved. So we are now putting in people we know that will be involved who agree to it.
Is this something that's come up, Jeremy?
It has,
Pass. Or obviously there's a reason why
2
we
months ago, I think was the last one we had to go down this road, ran into these hurdles. So,
and is it fair to say that this is a way to protect not only the public, but protect the dog and the owner?
correct. This actually adds more options for the owner.
Right. Yeah.
Rather than just put it down or get it out of the city.
That's appreciate that.
Is there any way to, like, through pet licenses, I mean, would probably take some assumptions on our part to have an idea on how many people this is impacting?
Like for how many pet owners we
Yeah.
have.
So, because I'm, whether it's dangerous or vicious, I'm not sure the difference, like that's breed specific, right?
I know it's more or less, there is like per se certain animals, not breed specific. This is over what the situation had presented.
Okay,
what the dog
so
did.
behavior.
Correct.
Okay.
They have nothing to do with actual breeds.
Okay.
Okay, so a motion to approve and a second.
So
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we will have roll call.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
DeVore.
yes.
Moving on to 7B, third reading of ordinance 2023-9200, amending chapter 165.23, Board of Adjustment. Ask for a motion and a second,
Second.
and roll call. Any comment? Roll call, please.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
All right, so we will then move on to reports in particulars, and we will begin with staff. Any staff comment? How about you, Chelsea?
I just have two things to report. Jason Tran wanted me to make sure everybody knows that the Pocket Park is complete, the Pocket Park off of Van Dorn Street. And he also wanted to point out that the shade structure at Leonard Park is complete as of last week. Thank you to Public Works. That's it.
Council?
I got a couple things. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the festival. Really good week last week weather-wise. It's good this week for Ragbrine, unfortunately for those guys riding. But I thought for the amount of things that were new or changed from years past, it was a really successful festival from my perspective. Looking back at around this time last year, I had no idea that I think I suspected that the volunteer outpouring, for lack of a better word, it just been tremendous. And being the first time that we really opened it up, broadly speaking, I know there were a few shifts that were guests, and some can attest that maybe didn't have as much to do as we had originally planned, but it was just, there was a lot of work elsewhere too, but I think it went very, very well. Glad to see it back in the format that it's in. I do want to call a couple departments. When you change the layout, that inevitably falls on the shoulders of Public Works, and that, you know, from Mike, Randy to everybody that was working Sunday morning, Friday night, Saturday all day, just did a tremendous job helping out, answering probably the same questions more than a few times. Can I plug this in? Where does this barricade need to go? How do we set this up? Where's some zip ties? But just a lot to go through. Anytime we have volunteers doing that kind of work, and I include myself in that maybe aren't as skilled, but really helpful. And Jason, wish he was here too. We tried a few things that were new, and Parks and Rec definitely helped us out in a lot of senses, and really good partnership there. So I think there's no perfect festival, but definitely a return to form, I think, and really positive experience for most folks. And then the other thing that I did want to bring up, I know with Ankeny passing their UTV ordinance here a month or so ago, there's been a little bit more conversation, and I think that's something we probably need to revisit as a body, both in terms of UTVs, which I know Ankeny's ordinance was specific to that, but even golf carts is kind of a proponent of being a little bit more flexible with our ordinances there. Again, I don't know that that's the right thing to do, but I do think now is probably a good time to revisit that, given some of the other changes here in the area, and then also based on feedback that I've gotten. I don't know if others have gotten reactive to what people think that they want, and doesn't mean we have to do it, but I definitely think that we should look at it. We saw a young man come here a couple months ago, and I've been asked and have seen some things posted in response. So I think it warrants a conversation.
Yeah, I think that's something definitely we can visit. I think that that's pretty strictly controlled because of the way the traffic in Polk City. We owe the citizens some trust. Look at it and see what we can do. And I'll echo what you said about the celebration, the festival. Square looked great, still looks great. Had a good turnout, I thought. I didn't see or hear of any problems, so thank you.
I have one thing. So this is a shout out to Officer Blaha Bolson. That's what he said. Yesterday, Roy's over, and he just kind of put his phone on the ground and it accidentally called 911. And I think it was Polk City number that rang back and checked to see that everything was okay. And he said, yeah, everything's fine. I just accidentally dropped my phone. And pretty short, kind of like, so Officer Bob Olson came to the house because he knew where he was. I don't know how he knew that. Probably from the cell phone, the tower coverage or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure. But he took the extra time to come across town to make sure that everything was okay. Not just a phone call, yep, check the box, it's done. He drove up, and I was like, this is awesome. Because the one time that's not, continuing to do that as the norm and not the exception is just really, to me, it was wonderful. So please, Officer Polson, know that. And
Yes, so.
know that that's appreciated, and it's to all. I know they all wrote it in the same thing, but it was great. So thank you for that.
So I think I would just be reiterating a lot that's already said. I love the festival. We love the parade. We got rid of all of our candy again this year, which is always a good thing, so we don't eat it at home. But I would just echo what Rob says there. I'd like to thank all the volunteers who helped, all the city departments who brought their expertise to bear on this to make it a successful event. Go Polk City, and then of course council support for that. So all in all, I think it takes a lot of people to pull this thing off, and it turned out to be a really good festival. This week, we have another really big event in town where we'll have tens of thousands of visitors. And so I will just, in advance of Reg Bright, thank all of our volunteers, all of our departments, the council who's supporting this as well, Go Polk City, so forth and so on, because it's going to be a really big undertaking. I would also like to mention the Pocket Park, because that took the efforts of a lot of organizations and volunteers and people who donated to the project, so forth and so on. It's a beautiful addition to downtown, and I think we really have something to celebrate there. And then finally, I'd like to introduce Amanda, who's the new executive director of Go Polk City. So Amanda, you don't have to stand up, but whatever. We're happy to have you on board, and you got your first taste of a big celebration this past weekend, and now another one coming up on Wednesday. So welcome to Polk City and to Go Polk City.
Thank you very much, and just thank you to my board, especially to 3 members here, well, 4 members, I guess. But yeah, just thank you very much for all that you guys have done to onboard and to make this a enjoyable process, as well as just a good experience. So thank you guys, and thank you for answering questions. So I'm looking forward to Ragbri and definitely into getting into the heart of operations. So after events. Thank you.
We're all looking forward to the after Ragbri. So with that, if nothing else, I guess we will ask for a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We are, and we're in good shape. We have, our next meeting is August 14th of 2023.